The Pentagon now confirming the deaths of 3 U.S. soldiers in eastern Afghanistan coming at the hands of a so-called green-on-blue attack, which means a friendly Afghan soldier turned his weapon on our troops. Another American soldier also injured. The Taliban claims it was one of their own who infiltrated the Afghan army and carried out that attack. Let's bring in retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, former Green Beret commander, former counterterrorism advisor, Vice President Cheney, and author of Warrior Diplomat, also a Fox News contributor. Colonel, great to see you.
Great, thanks.
So this was an inside job by the Taliban. It's happened so many times before. In March, 3 U.S. soldiers were injured. Same thing.
Right.
How do we put a stop to this? Can it be stopped?
I don't know that you're ever going to stop it completely, Greg. You know, our main effort there is to embed small groups of advisors with Afghan security forces, with the Afghan army and the police and their commandos to help them bolster their fighting and help bring in all of the support elements that we need, air support, medevac, and other pieces. So this tactic is one of the most effective things that the Taliban can do in terms of trying to turn us against each other, the coalition advisors, the American advisors, and our Afghan army counterparts, because it sows distrust, it drives wedges, and we have to be careful that we don't overreact and kind of play into the Taliban's hands. There are things that we can do to increase our vetting and kind of increase our understanding of when the Taliban's trying to infiltrate.
Right.
But again, we can't take it too far, because getting the Afghan army to the right place to be able to fight on its own is our main effort and how we're eventually going to leave.
Before this happened, there is a proposal still existing on the table to put in 5,000 more U.S. and coalition troops.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's the right thing to do. The general on the ground has asked for it. Again, these soldiers that would be going in are not soldiers, I want to be clear, they are not going to be kicking in doors and on the front line and pulling triggers. These are going to be more advisors and more trainers, which is exactly what the Afghans need. And they're, you know, look, we need to be honest, they're going to need it for quite some time. They need those supporting efforts that only we can provide. But then, Greg, to put it in a broader strategic context, you know, the Trump administration is also wrestling with how do we deal with Pakistan, the sanctuaries that the Taliban enjoy over there. No counterinsurgency in history has ever been effective when the enemy has a place to rest and refit. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves that we're going to be there quite some time, just like we were in Colombia for 40 years fighting the FARC, just like we were in South Korea for over 70 years and are still there today.
Well, the American strategy has in part been to try to take out the Taliban leadership.
Yeah.
Decapitating the leadership has not, it seems, forced the Taliban to the negotiating table.
Right.
Why is that, and will taking out their leadership ever work, because they seem to be able to replace them with no problem?
Well, keep in mind, and a lot of people I think question this, we have to keep the Taliban on their back foot, and that means keeping their leadership awake at night, whether a bomb is going to come through their window, just to be candid. Because if the Taliban take over Afghanistan again, you betcha that Al-Qaeda and ISIS are going to be in their wake. And once they have control of territory in Afghanistan, they're going to be plotting against the United States. To the specific tactic of targeting their leadership, look, their leadership enjoys sanctuary in the western parts of Pakistan. That's one of the reasons that we haven't really been able to get at them. And we have to do that in the short term. What we need to do in the longer term is get the Afghan government to a better place so that it can support its populace, and then also even a broader strategy that counters Islamic extremism and reduces these groups' ability to recruit. It's somewhat analogous to what we did against communism. You know, why can't communist terrorist groups recruit anymore? Well, because their ideology lacks credibility. And so there's the kind of the short term and then the long term.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, thanks very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.